So here are some things we're going to cover sa lesson ngayon. Can you reduce the fat of your side belly by doing specific exercises? Does eating high protein
Recording
bad?
in progress.
What's better than BCAA supplements? Does stopping workout causes weight gain? Sweating and burning fat, BMI an ideal weight? Do high reps create more cuts and muscle definition? Keto versus high carb? Effectivity of fasted cardio and HIIT. Eating for your body type, diet sodas, how much is too much, eating at night, clean bulking equals abs, insulin and weight gain, losing strength, and losing muscle. So madami-dami. Exciting to. So natutunan na natin tong 5 steps, only 5 steps that we need to have an incredible transformation. And over the course of how many weeks, what we did was improve your scores dito sa areas na to. Ginawa natin yan via our weekly training, focusing more on the execution. No doubt that if you continue what you're effectively doing up until now, makakapunta tayo dito sa wow transformation. Not just physically, but also your mindset, habits, and quality of life. Kung ngayon naman, dito sa lesson na to, what we're going to do is improve this area even more. So instead of just enough knowledge, gagawin natin superb knowledge. We're going to fill in your knowledge gaps. This is going to be useful for you, kahit hindi mo plano mag-coach, para yung results mo, back up siya ng at least general knowledge ng fitness. Kasi imagine, kung match mo yung dream body mo, people will line up to you to ask for advice. Tatanungin nila sa'yo, bawal ba yung rice? Pwede ba kainin to? Totoo bang di masama yung Coke Zero? Etc. etc. And it would be nice if you can answer those questions. Right? Hindi lang may abs tayo tapos wala tayong masagot. So, credible ka na nga sa results and you will sound even more credible when you can explain things to them. So, sa mga future coaches dito, this is going to be super useful. And also, by having superb knowledge, you're going to be a much more effective person in dealing with the regular BS na may encounter natin sa fitness industry, sa fitness journey mo, for life. Kasi dami yan hindi yan nauubos. You'll be smart, you'll be sharp, at lalakas din yung pang-amoy mo sa kung ano-anong mga outdated BS marketing sa fitness na makikita mo sa social media. And no rice diet, bawal kumain sa gabi, body type training, ang dami. This way, makakatipid tayo sa pera, sa oras, sa effort. At iwas shiny object syndrome. Sa kung mapapansin nyo, itong knowledge stuff, itong pag-fill ng knowledge gaps natin, andito siya sa week number 12. Most people would think na dapat knowledge and techniques ang inuuna ituro sa tao. But I disagree. Kasi knowledge is useless with no or little execution. Kaya lagi natin tandaan, alam ko marami dito gusto rin mag-impact ng ibang tao, next generation, sa mga future coaches dito, hindi lang sa fitness, tandaan natin na people don't want information. They want transformation. So bigyan muna natin sila ng mga aha moments, baguhin muna natin mindset nila, get them to take action first, and then do natin sila bigyan ng information to back up what they're already doing. And that way, doon tayo mas magiging effective na leader and teacher. So kaya nasa week number 12 to dahil we've covered the bases na Meron na kayong foundation para i-absorb lahat ng ituturo ko dito at mas maiintindihan at magagamit mo sila. Okay, before we start, we have 40 items here and some items require long and boring explanations. Iba na studies, literature, scientific explanations. I know a lot of you are bored by that stuff. So, okay lang ba na-skip ko na yun, yung mga long explanation parts, and just tell you straight up kung ano yung totoo. Okay lang? So, if kailangan ng resources, we can provide naman. Okay? Let's start tayo. 40 fitness facts. So, unang-una, you cannot reduce the size of any body part by doing specific exercises that target it. Yan. So, yung mga ganyan, makikita natin sa internet, YouTube, Google, social media. Alam niyo na, iwasan natin yung ganyan. I mean, pwede namang di iwasan, pero huwag na tayo ma-shiny object sa ganito. Spot reduction is a myth. stay away from this. So ano yung spot reduction? You may exercise daw, specific exercise daw, para matunaw yung fat dun sa specific area na yun. Ito, yung kagaya ng mga nakikita nyo sa pictures. So walang ganyan. Even yung sa face, yung merong mga double chin exercises. So walang ganyan. Okay? And especially this. So kung bumili ka ng ganito, pahiram kami. joke lang. So kung bumili ka niyan, yeah, hindi yan. Which I think, alam mo na, kung bumili ka na dati nito. The only way to lose fat in specific areas, like side belly, thighs, arms, double chin, it is by losing fat overall. This means that if you want to lose fat, yan, yung sinabi ko, the only thing we need to do is to lose more weight overall. So in short, calorie deficit lang. Yung genetics kasi natin, siya yung magde-determine kung ano yung una niyang aalisin. So for some people, mauna mo na mawala yung taba sa mukha. Minsan huli siya. So si genes siya magde-determine. Okay, so meron palang choice. Meron pala tayong control dito. Let's say gusto natin mawala yung fat natin sa sa double chin. So pwede natin gawin, magpalay po tayo. So si Belo na yung kailangan natin dito. Okay, but naturally wala talagang ganun. Okay, move tayo. Next, eating small, frequent meals doesn't boost metabolism. So possible na madami kayo nakikita sa internet o sabi rin ng mga coaches sa gym o yung mga ka-gym mo, diba na dati kasi hype to yung pag kumain ka daw ng more frequent meals, mas bibilis daw yung metabolism mo. So like itong news na to. Saan ba nakalagay dito? Yan. Eating small, frequent meals will help the body stay in an active, burning mode or producing energy for all your body's needs. So this myth was debunked a long time ago. So hindi siya totoo. Nakabulag lang kasi ayan yung mga headlines. This master sergeant lost 40 pounds by switching to 6 small meals a day. So in truth, hindi naman yung 6 small meals ang nag-cause ng weight loss niya, but yung overall calorie deficit niya. At saka kung maalala nyo, yung thermic effect of food na diniscuss natin last time, when we eat, our body expends calories to digest the food. So kung malaki yung kinain natin, let's say 1 meal, kumain tayo ng 2.5 calories, ang mangyayari, malaki rin yung mababurn natin ng calories to digest that one big meal. Likewise, kung maliit lang yung meal, let's say kumain tayo 6 meals, 10 meals a day, so each meal, maliit lang din yung nababurn natin ng calories. So overall, whether you eat 1 meal, 3 meals, 10 meals a day, same lang yung calories na mababurn natin. Ang magde-determine nun is yung amount ng calories na kinonsume natin for that day. Okay, clear yun? Okay, move tayo. Yung madadali lang yan. Number 3. Ayan, pinagsama-sama ko na. There are no fattening or slimming foods or ingredients. Natural, gluten, and organic foods are not superior for weight loss. Vegan diets are not superior for building muscle and losing fat or just being healthy in general. Ayan, there are no specific food or ingredients that can burn fat. Ito, madalas natin ito makikita, especially sa YouTube. Ang dami ko nakikita ganito. So, misleading siya kasi fat-burning foods. Nakalagay, avocado, eggs, lemon, coconut. Kung tutuusin, sobrang taas ang mga calories ng mga yan eh. Tapos kung makikita nyo rin, meron din yung mga negative calorie foods daw. Yung pag kinain mo daw, yung net deficit, yung net consumption mo is negative. So parang kumain ka ng food, tapos mag-lose ka ng weight. So walang ganun. So the only way this can work, example, itong apple cider vinegar, walang calories. The only way this can work, and yung madalas man nangyayari sa mga tao, is when they take this ingredient, like itong lemon, like itong apple cider vinegar, or even fat burners, pag nag-take sila niyan, nagkakaroon din ng change sa ibang behaviors at habits nila na yun yung nagle-lead sa calorie deficit. Kala lang ng mga tao na si apple cider or si lemon water yung nagpapayat sa kanila. But it's the other changes in their behavior. Pwede kasing yung nag-take na sila ng apple cider every morning or every night, ewan ko kailan yung tinitake, diba? Nag-start na rin sila mag-exercise, nag-start na rin sila mag-diet. So yun yung cause, hindi yung apple cider. So mali lang sila nang na-credit dun sa progress nila. Okay, clear yun? So likewise, kung walang nakakapayat na pagkain, wala ring nakakatabang pagkain. Diba? Hindi rin nakakataba yung rice, yung soft drinks. It all comes down to what? Yung calorie intake natin. Okay, so walang nakakapayat, walang nakakatabang pagkain. Pag sumobra tayo, doon tayo magiging ng weight. Kahit sobrang healthy pa niyan. Okay, next. Ito. These foods will not magically burn fat. Walang ganyan. Marami tayong makikita na may pagkain daw, yun nga, nagka-claim ng meron silang magical properties which directly target and burn body fat. So, walang ganon. Etong sa right, these foods can help you burn more fat. Yung chicken breast, yogurt, Greek yogurt, salad, low-calorie fruits, foods high in fiber. This can help you burn more fat, not by boosting your metabolism or what, but by helping fill your belly with little calories. Mabubusog ka na hindi masyadong nagko-consume ng madaming calories. Therefore, overall, mas konti yung kakainin mo. So, yan yung silbi ni fiber, yan yung silbi ni protein. It's why vegetables are helpful, especially pag mababa na yung calories natin. So, yung pipino, sobrang effective nun. Now, next, vegan diets are not superior, but better in terms of health, muscle building, fat loss, like what these documentaries made us think. May nakanood na ba nitong mga to sa inyo? Nasa Netflix eh. Game Changers saka What the Health. So pag napanood nyo kasi sila, example tong Game Changers, ang conclusion na makam up nyo is that vegan diets are better. Vegan diets are superior. And it is not true. If you will search the internet, there are already lots of credible resources na nag-debunk nitong mga documentaries na to. Yeah, if you want to read more about this, pwede nyo type yung documentary name and just put the word debunked. So marami na kayong makikita na galing sa mas credible na sources. So bottom line, just because it's a Netflix documentary doesn't mean it's true. If you wish to become a vegan for ethical, environmental, moral, religious, or other reasons, please go ahead. Wala nang masama dun. But don't become a vegan just because some documentary scared you into it. So again, vegan diets are not better, superior to health, muscle building, fat loss, like what these documentaries made us think. Hindi pa natin kina-consider dyan yung adherence, yung sustainability, yung enjoyment, which as we had mentioned in the previous lessons, part din sila ng mental health natin. If you keep aiming to be a vegan for health reasons, pero hindi mo naman magawa, lagi ka nagre-relapse, kumakain ka ng meat kasi na mismo, tapos hindi mo na-hit yung health and fitness goals mo, nawawalan ka ng belief sa sarili mo, matatawag mo bang healthy yun? Hindi, di ba? Okay, next. High protein diets are superior when it comes to weight loss because of the protein's high thermic effect. So, na-discuss na natin ito last time. Recap natin ng konti. The thermic effect of food means that when we eat, our body expends calories to digest the food. So, protein yung macronutrient na nagkakos ng pinakamataas na thermic effect. Next si carb, and last si fat. Kaya ibig sabihin, mas madaming calories ang mabuburn natin to digest the protein versus carb and fat. So, kung 1.5 calories ka na high protein versus 1.5 calories na low protein, yung overall calories na mabuburn nung kumakain ng high protein, mas mataas. Therefore, mas malaki yung deficit na pwede niyang magawa. So, parang nag-extra steps siya, nag-extra cardio siya. So, this is why just consistently hitting your protein goal daily will have a huge net positive effect sa weight loss natin. And add to this, si protein din, yung pinaka nakakabusog na macronutrient. So, helpful talaga siya sa nagkakat. Next one, BCAA supplements are a complete waste of money. Whey and EAAs, ibig sabihin essential amino acids, are much better. So, to explain this, ito yung paborito kong analogy dito. So, ganyan yung silbi ni BCAA. Nagets nyo ba? So, yung swimming pool, yan yung example yan, yung high protein diet natin. Yan yung swimming pool. Tapos, itong water bottle, na pinanliligo pa niya kahit basa na siya, yan yung BCAA. So kung ang goal mo lang naman is maligo or mag-swimming, mabasa, that means kahit wala ka ng water bottle, okay na. Diba? Nasa swimming pool ka na nakalubog ka na So likewise, kung high protein yung diet mo, kung makain ka na ng enough protein, yan din yung silbi ni BCAA. Wala siyang effect. Hindi na natin siya kailangan. Okay, gets yun? Coach, paano kung hindi ko na-hit lagi yung protein ko daily? Beneficial ba si BCAA? So, ang sagot doon, possible. Pero less ang effect niya kumpara sa mismong essential amino acids or yung whey mismo. Kasi kung titignan natin yung profile nila, ito yung mga nakalagay sa kanya-kanya. BCAA, ibig sabihin branch chain amino acids, EAAs, essential amino acids, tapos yung whey, kompleto siya, even non-essential amino acids na may kanya-kanyang benefits. So when you consume whey or EAAs, you're getting the full spectrum of all the essential amino acids. So sa BCAA, tatlo lang. Kahit pa sila yung super important, lamang pa rin if you get all of them. So sa tatlong yan, BCAAs are the most inferior. Best is whey protein kasi it has all the amino acids plus non-essential amino acids and it fills up your protein needs and your appetite. The only situation where EAAs could be a wise choice is kung nagpa-fasted workout ka. Yun lang. And best of course, pwede mo nang skip si fasted workout, mag-whey protein ka na lang. Ignore mo lang yung fasting. Yun yung best route if you're aiming for optimal results. Itong BCAA, pwede natin ignore yan completely. Ayan, nakita ko lang sa Instagram, how to use BCAAs. Step 1, walk to the bin. Step 4, educate yourself about the amino acids in dietary protein so you don't waste money on dumb supplements again. And if you want a suggestion sa amino acid EAA supplements, ito yung mga na-try ko. Mabibili sila sa Lazada, Waking. So itong dalawa, pwede itong pre-workout kasi meron silang caffeine. Ito wala. Kung may suggest ako isa lang, ito yun. Sobrang sarap nito. Okay, lagay ko to sa sa action items para kung bibili kayo, ando doon lang. Next tayo. 6, eating high protein is not bad for your kidneys. So alam ko dito, maraming natatakot dito kasi even nurses, doctors, nagsasabi nito So as long as your kidneys are healthy, walang dangers ang high protein diets. So quote ko nila yung mga PhDs, mga experts, mga doctors na nagsasabi talaga ng fitness. Kaya si Layne Norton, yan yung pinakita kong bodybuilder / doctor / scientist sa week 4 training natin. So marami ng studies, marami ng myths na na-debunk. Kasi ngayon marami pa rin nagsasabi na masama sa kidney ang whey or high protein. So ito yung sabi niya, there's absolutely zero evidence that protein harms healthy kidneys. And the evidence is weak at best that low protein diets are helpful for kidney disease outcomes. So if you'd like to continue outdated rhetoric, then I can call Naaway na siya yan. Ito pa, protein damage your kidneys. No, protein can harm your liver. No, protein causes cancer. Try again. So nowadays, pag nag-research ako, kasi dumaan ako dito sa extensive na, hilig ko magbasa dati ng mga ganito Pero ngayon, if may need akong info, I would just search for the topic, then i-add ko yung name ni Layne Norton, for example. So another PhD, si Brad Schoenfeld. So same thing. Research from Jose Antonio PhD shows consuming protein 4 times the RDA has no effect on kidney function over a 2-year period. Let's finally put the unfounded myth that high protein diets are harmful to the kidneys in healthy individuals to rest. So ito, pag may trusted sources na kayo, kahit hindi nyo nabasahin yung mga studies na yan, if you don't want to, sila na bahala. Another, sa liver naman, protein does not harm the liver and may actually improve fatty liver disease. Bottom line, if you don't have any pre-existing kidney condition, even if you eat at 1 gram per pound protein or even above that per day, safe pa din yun. If you don't believe me, believe this doctors, PhDs who actually study fitness. Coach, bakit after ko mag-start mag-take ng whey, tumaas yung creatinine ko? So yung pagtaas ng creatinine, yung BUN, ang blood urea nitrogen, ang nangyari dito is normal siya pag nag-start tayo magbuhat at kumain ng high protein diet. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nito is nadadamage siya yung kidneys natin. It just means na meron tayong mas mataas na protein metabolism dahil pag nagbubuhat tayo, nagbe-breakdown tayo ng muscle fibers, which are protein din yun amino acids yun na dumadaan sa blood natin, tapos may filter ng kidney natin. So it's normal na tumaas yung concentrations nila sa blood. Tapos diba, dagdagan pa natin ng whey, so maraming finifilter sa kidneys na amino acids. So confusion lang, scary, di ba, sa mga nagpapatest, kasi even some doctors, hindi lahat nagko-conclude agad sila that there's something wrong sa kidneys after just a simple blood test measuring the BUN and creatinine. Ang recommendation daw dito, if you're worried, is to get urinary protein test instead, as it's a better measure of kidney function than most others. So basta ang bottom line, coming from itong mga experts na pinakita ko, not just me, if you have healthy kidneys, hindi masama ang high protein diet. So pag may problem ka sa kidney, pag may sakit, may pre-existing kidney condition ka, ibang usapan yun. Okay? Next tayo. Number 7, it's not true that our bodies can only absorb 20 to 40 grams of protein in one sitting. So ito yung isang study dyan. 100 grams of protein, 101 grams protein in one meal versus traditional 4 meals. So ang conclusion, no difference in lean mass preservation. Ibig sabihin, inabsorb naman ng katawan lahat yan. So even if you eat over 100 grams of protein per meal, yung mga nag-IF, for example, yung intestine natin, kaya niyang store at i-absorb yung ganong kalaking protein. Kasi ang amino acids naman, nagsisirculate yan sa blood natin. And if kailangan na ng katawan natin, let's say, nag-gym tayo, readily available na sila gamitin. Ayan, if you want to watch the scientific explanation, search nyo lang si Jeff Nippard. Tapos lagyan niyo yung keywords na yan. Next one. Muscle soreness is not a basis of a workout's effectivity. Progressive overload is. So, na-achieve ko itong transformation na to. This was 2019. I got here rarely experiencing soreness. So, I'm sure many of you rin, lalo yung sa side shoulders natin. Sa over 10 years ko nag-workout, sobrang bilang lang sa kamay yung na-experience ko, naging sore talaga yung shoulders ko. So, another example nito, yung mga nagmamarathon, ang haba ng takbo nila, di ba? So, yung pag tumatakbo sila, anong nangyari? Super sore yung legs nila kinabukasan or the next days. Pero yung soreness na yon, doing the marathon, hindi naman doon lumalaki yung muscles nila. Actually, yung mga marathon runner, di ba sila yung mga payat? So, hindi basehan yung soreness sa pagpapalaki ng muscles o sa effectivity ng workout. The next one, muscles don't turn into fat and vice versa. So, may narinig na ba kayong ganito? Huminto kasi ako sa workout kaya naging taba yung mga muscles. Sino na nakarinig nito? So, ako hanggang ngayon may narinig akong ganito. So, hindi totoo magiging taba ang muscles pag nag-stop tayo. Building muscle and gaining fat, losing fat, magkaibang process yan. 2 different processes yan. Ang mangyayari lang pag huminto tayo sa workout, nawawala yung muscle natin. And if we lose muscle, mangingibabaw si fat sa mga body parts natin. But it doesn't mean na nako-convert si muscle sa fat. Magkaiba sila. And also, if you stop exercising, mas prone tayo tumaba kasi less yung nabuburn natin, or less yung calorie expenditure natin. So yun yung actual nangyayari, but muscles don't transform into fat. So another example nito, kabila naman, doon sa mga payak, tumaan ako doon eh. Sasabihin, narinig ko dati, sabi sa akin, advice sa akin lagi, magpataba ka muna bago ka magbuhat. Para yung mga taba mo, yun yung magiging muscle. Kasi pag wala ka raw taba, sayang daw yung pagbubuhat mo. Kasi walang mako-convert. So same yun, it's not true. Kasi magkaiba ang muscle sa fat tissue. So pag may narinig pa tayong ganito, nagsabi ng ganito, alam mo yun, hindi naman tayo kailangan makipag-away. Let's just try to educate them. Kasi dumaan din naman tayo dito eh. Or pwedeng kung malakas talaga yung conviction niya, pwedeng, ano ka lang, oo ka lang. Kung di mo lang ka-close, diba? Okay, so next. Hindi totoo na okay lang kumain ng madami kasi mabuburn mo naman sa workouts. So ito, meron ba kayong naririnig na ganito? Well, partly true naman siya. Kaya lang ang nangyayari, ako, pag may nakakita sa akin kumain ng, pag may nakakita sa akin na kumakain ng madami, ang dami ko order ko na sa restaurants, mga kamag-anak, sasabihin nila sa akin lagi, ang lakas mo kumain pero di ka tumataba. Tapos may kasunod yun. Sabi na, nabuburn mo naman kasi sa gym eh. So hindi ko nabuburn. Tinatrack ko kasi, kaya nakakakain ako ng ganun kadami. Kasi ito example Jollibee Champ. Okay, sukat squad to. Meron siyang 710 calories. Kaya very little truth lang yung okay lang kumain ng madami, na-burn mo naman. Kasi itong 710 calories na to, ilang minutes mo itatakbo yan eh. Just to offset, just to burn that amount of calories. Kapag tumakbo ka ng 1 hour, 2 hours, after mo kumain ng Champ, hindi ka nga papayat eh. Mababurn mo lang, kinain mo na yan. Ba, anong equivalent niyan? 25k, 30k steps? So burger pa lang yan Paano pa kung samahan pa natin ng fries, ng sundae? So kaya yun. Kaya hindi siya totoo. Kasi sobrang laking effort ang kailangan to burn this amount of calories. Lalo yung pag mga inuman, di ba? Pulutan. Mahina ang dyan 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 calories. So hindi siya yung bukas itotodo ko workout, mabuburn ko lahat. Next. Ito, favorite ko to. Drinking cold water does slow down digestion and trap or freeze fat in our stomach. Meron ba nakakarinig nito? So first time ko tong narinig sa MF group, tapos nagulat ako, ang dami palang ganito. Ayun, sabi nila, hindi nakakalaki ng tiyan, feeling bloated lang. May nagtanong about sa cold water. Lumalaki yung tiyan dahil sa fats na namumuo pag uminom tayo ng cold water at nakakapagpabagal siya ng metabolism. So ito, another, not literally, but don't drink cold water when you're eating oily foods. If you eat oily foods and then drink cold water with it, the oil does get hard, para nagsisebo ba sa loob ng tiyan, which could be the reason people say nakakalaki ng tiyan. So ang advice sa akin before was when eating, drink warm water. So sino naka-encounter nito? Sinong may belief na ganito? Can you let us know in the chat? Drinking cold water doesn't do this. Cold water may slightly lower gastrointestinal temperature, but it will not cause ingested fats to solidify in the digestive tract, particularly in the intestinal wall. Our body will eventually equalize our core temperature, so it's impossible to freeze fat in the stomach. So huwag tayo mag-alala, hindi ganyan kahina yung acid natin sa tiyan. Hindi magsisebo yung tiyan natin. Diba? We humans have survived for so long at hindi lang basta malamig na tubig ang uubos sa atin. Okay? Next one, number 12. Sweating doesn't mean you're burning calories. Ayan, sino bumili nito? Pairam ulit. So, anong nangyayari lang, sauna suit, it helps us release more water via sweating. Kaya mistakenly perceive siya as nakakapayat. Well, tama naman, you're going to lose weight, pero water weight yun, not fat. So kung pinapawisan tayo, doesn't mean na nagbo-burn tayo ng calories. Na ibig sabihin lang noon, pinapawisan tayo, nababawasan tayo ng tubig. Kaya kung di ka kasi nagbo-burn ng calories, hindi ka mababawasan ng fat. Kasi kung nakaka-burn ng fat yung sweating, if it were, edi sana pagpahingahin na lang natin yung electric fan. Patayin na natin yung aircon. Magbilad na tayo sa araw. Diba lalo ngayon, napakainit. Sana nakakatulong siya sa cutting natin. Okay, next. When it comes to health and physical look, BMI matters a little, if at all. Baka wala nga. Si BMI, often misleading siya sa ating mga into fitness. And it's causing a lot of confusion. Ito example. 2 guys, sabi ni BMI, 35, obese sila parehas. Pero obese ba sila parehas? Hindi naman, di ba? Ito, super low body fat, mataas yung muscle mass. So kung BMI ba siyan, labeled sila as obese parehas. So wrestler Steve Austin, Stone Cold, at the height of his career, nag-weigh siya ng 252 pounds. So 6'2", BMI niya 32.4. Kung BMI basihan, included siya sa obese. Ay, maganda naman yung condition niya. Hindi naman siya mukhang obese. May abs nga, may muscle. So what we should do instead, kung health ang usapan, or even fitness, ang mas magandang gawin, kunin lang natin yung body fat natin. Even estimate lang. Kasi yun yung better predictor ng overall health. Hindi BMI. And pagdating naman sa itsura, ang best na basis is yung happiness natin. Yung satisfaction natin. Kaya kung hindi ka pa masaya sa cut mo at ang goal mo ay abs, and yet your BMI says underweight ka na, ano yung susundin mo? Si BMI or yung happiness mo? Yung goal mo? Ako, susundin ko yung goal ko, yung satisfaction ko, yung happiness ko. Napansin ko rin kasi ito sa madami. Ang naglilimit sa kanila is yung BMI. Kunwari, goal nila magka-abs. Pero ang sabi ni BMI, underweight ka na. So yun yung pumipigil sa kanila na magtuloy sila sa cut at makuha yung abs na goal nila. So mangyari, magbabulk na sila kasi sabi nga ni BMI, uy, underweight ka na, kumain ka ulit. Tapos mag-add sila ng weight ulit, ng body fat ulit. Then mapopostpone yung goal na abs. Then later on, pag tumaba ulit, gugustuhin na naman nila magka-abs kasi hindi nila na-achieve last time. Then magka-cut ulit sila, then sasabihin ulit ni BMI, uy, underweight ka na. Then they will stop again. So mapupunta sila sa never-ending cycle ng yo-yo dieting. Anyone relate? Meron bang ganun dito? Oh, ito, good example. MF member siya. Sabi niya, 27.8 BMI, overweight. Tingnan mo yung katawan niyo. Diba? Ang ganda-ganda. I mean, you need to lose 10 kilograms to meet my normal weight, which is required sa work ko. Sabi niya, hi. Diba, lungkot niya. So, poor guy, overweight siya based sa BMI, and possible na matanggalan siya ng work or hindi siya mapasok sa work pag hindi siya pumayat or maging ripped. Sabi ni BMI, overweight siya, pero marami sa atin, dream body na yan eh. The bottom line, body fat percentage and your satisfaction should be the basis for your weight loss and weight gain decision, not BMI. Not unless, of course, kailangan sa work mo. Next, usapang workout naman tayo. So ito, may nababasa pa rin ako, may narinig pa rin ako sa mga gyms, sa Anytime Fitness. And sabi nila, knees going past your toes is normal. Sabi nila, knees going past your toes is not safe during squats. Bawal daw lumagpas yung tuhod sa toes pag nag-i-squat. So, hindi totoo. Kasi normal naman na lumagpas si tuhod sa toes natin pag nag-squat tayo. So, ito yung diagram na nakita ko sa internet. So, pag in-avoid natin yung lumagpas si knees sa toes natin, kunwari ganito, ang mangyayari, yuyuko tayo. Mag-lean forward tayo masyado. Tapos mabibitin yung lalim ng squat natin, yung depth. So nakalagay dito, 20% decrease stress sa tuhod natin, which is good. Pero kapalit nun, 1,070% increase stress sa lower back. So the truth is, itong leaning forward is more likely to cause injury than hayaan natin lumagpas yung knees natin sa toes natin like this one. So ito yung proper form. Another example, totoong tao. So knees going past your toes, ito siya. It's normal and safe during squats. Ito yung tamang form. Eh, mangyayari talaga itong lalagpas si tuhod sa toes if you're doing a full range of motion na squats at saka yung mga lunges, Bulgarian split, normal talaga siya. Kasi pag hindi siya lumagpas, bitin yung squats mo. Bukod sa prone ka, mas lalo kang prone sa injury, hindi ka rin naman makabuhat na mabigat. Hindi mo ma-apply yung progressive overload, hindi mo siya ma-maximize. Okay? So next tayo, intermittent fasting does not cause nor accelerate fat loss. So yung mababasa natin sa IF, pinapataas daw ang growth hormone, insulin, yung mga ganun. So may truth to that, but not to the extent na ma-override nila yung calorie deficit at calorie surplus na concept. Tataas si growth hormone pero very little, very maiksi lang yung time na hindi siya magkakause ng surge ng muscle growth, ng fat burning. Hindi siya ganun. So si IF, wala siyang added benefit directly sa fat burning. So ang silbi lang ni intermittent fasting, ito yung na-discuss natin sa week number 4, is tulungan tayo i-manage yung calories natin ng mas okay. Yun lang yung purpose niya. More structure. So do intermittent fasting only for convenience. If it's going to help you be more consistent. If pasok sa schedule mo at sa daily routine mo, sa eating patterns mo. Next one, deadlifts and squats are not bad for your knees and back. Improper form is. Maririnig natin to sa usually bakal gyms. So masama yung squat, masama yun sa tuhod, deadlift, masama yun sa back. So ako, lalo nung yung college ako, sinasabi to sa akin lagi, in deep squat daw, masama daw yan sa ACL, tuhod. So ang totoo doon, yung deep squats, actually mas safe siya sa knees. It can improve knee strength, stability, long-term. So therefore, the only thing that's bad for our knees is not doing squats. And as for the deadlift, of course, kaya sinabing masama siya sa likod kasi very technical yung movement. So mas mataas yung risk ng injury kasi daming muscles ang involved. But again, the exercise itself, hindi siya bad. Improper form, yung bad. So isipin natin, yung exercise, tool lang yan. Like, kunwari, kutsilyo, martilyo, lagari. If improper ang paggamit, may risk talaga ng injury. Ayun lang siya. The next, high reps don't create more definition, nor low reps produce more mass. So ito yung myth na high reps na pampacuts daw, pag nagbabulking tayo, dapat low reps. Narinig nyo ba yun? Meron ba nakarinig nun dito? Ako, meron pa rin. May nababasa pa rin ako niyan until now. Sabi nila, cutting ako high reps ginagawa ko. So galing tong myth na to sa older generations ng bodybuilders. Pag nag-diet sila, of course, they feel weaker. Nanghina sila. Na-experience niya, marami nagka-cutting dito. So ang ginagawa ng mga bodybuilders dati, gaganan nila yung buhat nila, then tataasan nila yung reps nila. Kasi nga, nanghina sila. Hindi sila makabuhat masyado dun sa heavier weights. Kaya doon na-associate yung high reps, pampacuts daw, low reps, para sa mga nagpapalaki ng katawan. And again, hindi siya totoo. Kasi high reps, low reps, pwede yung pampacuts, pwede yung cutting, pwede yung bulking. Ito yung muscle definition facts. First, muscle definition is largely dependent on the amount of body fat that covers the muscles and how big the muscles are. Second, what do we do to get bigger muscles? It's to lift moderate to heavy weights and apply progressive overload. And lastly, ano ba ginagawa natin para mag-lose tayo ng body fat? Punta lang tayo sa calorie deficit state. Ang bottom line, we can get more muscle definition by lifting moderate to heavy weights, 6 to 15 reps, applying progressive overload, and losing body fat. Yan yung magpupunta sa atin sa muscle definition, hindi yung by doing high reps. Kasi itong 6 to 15 reps, o kung anumang reps ang ginagamit natin to build muscles, yun din yung dapat gamitin natin when we're trying to lose weight. The only difference ng may cuts at walang cuts is the amount of body fat that we carry, that we possess. Kasi yun nagtatakip sa muscles. Okay, guys? Okay, next tayo. You don't have to change your workouts every week to confuse the muscles. So may mababasa tayo sa internet, itong idea na muscle confusion. Ang idea nun is every week or two, dapat magpalit na tayo ng workouts so that our bodies always get shocked, making them build muscle and lose fat faster. So ito yung totoo, muscle confusion doesn't exist. And muscle don't have a brain to get confused. Next, ano ba yung crucial ingredient na may miss out natin if we keep changing our workouts? Ano yun? Kung palit tayo ng workout every week, ano yung nami-miss out natin? It's progressive overload. Kasi kung palit ng exercises, paano natin malalaman kung lumalakas tayo doon? Kung nabibeat natin yung previous numbers natin. Right? If we keep changing exercises, then we're not training for results, but for recreational purposes. For entertainment lang siguro. Bored lang siguro tayo. Gusto lang siguro natin magpapawis. Uy, workout tayo, wala akong magawa eh. Ganun lang siya. But if you're training for results, ito yung focus natin. May purpose yung pag-workout natin. So bottom line, muscle confusion, it does not exist. Progressive overload is the key to getting more results. The next one, keto is not superior for fat loss, and it is inferior when it comes to building muscle. Anyone na nag-keto dito o na-try before? Meron ba? Hundreds of studies. Ito yung conclusion. Keto is as effective as other diets when calories are matched, short-term, long-term. Ito sa baba, keto does not seem to offer a distinct advantage for fat loss when both groups in a study eat the same amount of calories. So parehas lang ng calories, same lang ang weight loss rate. So kaya lang mukhang effective siya sa mga tao. Kasi people on ketogenic diet typically lose body weight quicker. But this is most likely due to glycogen depletion and water loss. So quick fact, yung carbs, pag kumakain tayo ng carbs, nag-a-attract siya ng mas maraming water sa katawan natin. So pag nasa keto tayo, di ba, walang carbs, so madami ring water loss yung mangyayari sa katawan natin. Kasi wala tayong carbs eh. So nape-perceive siya as mas mabilis, mas effective sa weight loss kumpara sa pag kumakain tayo ng carbs. Kasi mag-shrink talaga tayo if our bodies carry little water. So yun yung nafe-feel kadalasan ng mga nagkikito. Sabihin na, uy, yung bilis ko pumayat. But water loss, like yung diniscuss natin kanina sa sauna, it doesn't mean fat loss. It doesn't mean na mas maraming fat ang nababurn. And usapang weight loss to hindi pa natin kinoconsider dito yung sustainability and enjoyment. So pag sinama natin yun, inferior si keto. Long term. Dahil for most people, mahirap maging consistent kung very restrictive ang diet. Alright? So ito si Dr. Spencer. So ang nickname niya, Dr. Who Lives. Maganda siya i-follow sa IG kasi ganito yung mga content niya. So sobrang simple, sobrang funny, sobrang science-based. Sabi niya, how keto works. So you're currently eating, let's say hindi ka pa nagkikito. Kinakain mo lahat yan. May carbs ka pa, lahat kinakain mo. Wala kang restriction. So since lahat kinakain mo, probably nakakain mo 3,000 calories. Tapos nung nag-keto ka na, tinanggal mo yung mga carbs, ang kinakain mo lang total, 2,000 calories. So you cut out easily overeaten low satiating calories. It wasn't the insulin. So kaya ka pumayat kasi naging 2,000 lang yung intake mo. It's not because of keto. Okay? Gets yun? Kasi usually, pag kumakain tayo ng carbs, yan yung mga madali i-overeat eh. Fries, sobrang taas ang calories niyan. Yung large fries sa McDo, ilan yun? 500? So another from Lane. Keto may impair muscle growth. So kaya siya nilagay ko as inferior kasi no carbs means no muscle glycogen. Yung glycogen, yun yung carbs inside our muscles. Ang purpose niya is to give energy. Tsaka siya rin yung nagpapaswell ng muscles natin. So if we have zero carbs sa system natin, then less din yung energy natin to do our weight training. At kung less energy tayo during workouts, then mahirap i-apply yung progressive overload. Right? And if you're not applying progressive overload, how can you build more muscle? How can you tone your body parts? How can you transform your body? Yes, you can lose weight, you can lose fat, pero naalala niyo yung diniscuss natin sa week number 2 yun? We don't just want to lose fat. We want to have muscle mass. Kasi yun yung magbibigay sa atin ng sexier look, stronger look. So bottom line, keto is not superior. And in fact, pagdating sa muscle building, medyo may disadvantage siya. Panalo pa rin yung may carbs. Okay? O next tayo. To, pag nagbuhat ka, di ba yung bata ka, pag nagbuhat ka, di ka nalalaki. Meron ba nakarinig doon? Ako, lagi sinasabi yun sa akin dati. So lifting weights doesn't stunt growth. Hindi siya totoo. Diba, madami nga, hindi naman nagbubuhat, pero hindi na lumaki. Diba? So from Jeff Nippard's video explaining this, ito nakalagay, fears that resistance training would injure the growth plates of youths are not supported by scientific reports or clinical observations, which indicate that the mechanical stress placed on the developing growth plates from resistance exercise or high-strain sports such as gymnastics or weightlifting may be beneficial for bone formation and growth. So same lang sinasabi niyan, yung pag nagbubuhat, kasi low risk naman siya, unlike yung ibang sports, yung pag-gym, weightlifting, nakakatulong yan sa bone growth. So hindi siya nakakapigil ng growth. Hindi totoo yung hindi na tayo lalaki. Mas delix pa nga daw yung mga sports. Kasi yun talaga, mataas yung risk na tamaan yung growth plates ng mga bata. Kasi ako, honestly, kung babalik ko sarili ko sa teenage years ko, ang una ko talagang gagawin, mag-gym ako. Siseryosohin ko yung fitness ko. 13, 14 years ako. 14 years old ako. Yun na yung dad ko nang pinipilit na ako. Tsaka yung mga pinsan ko. Inaaya na ako mag-gym nun eh. Pero ayoko, tinatamad ako. Kaya lang, may mga what ifs lang ako na sana kung dati ko pa sineryoso to. Yung mga ganun. So ito yung advice ko pag magkaroon kayo ng baby boy. Kaya sayang kasi yung yung puberty, lahat ng hormones natin necessary for growth. Nasa peak sila nun eh. Yung teenage years natin. So kung meron kayong anak na lalaki, na-encourage yun na. Tsaka maganda rin naman itong ginagawa nyo. Nagsiset kayo ng example sa mga kids nyo. Kasi sila na mismo yung gagaya sa inyo. Pag lumaki sila pag umabot sila ng teenage years nila, pwede na sila mag-gym. Tapos yun lang, reminder lang, pag pinagbuhat nyo sila ng maaga, teenager sila, huwag nyo rin kalimutan na patalunin sila sa New Year. Just in case lang. So duktungan natin. Lifting weights doesn't stunt growth. Basta, tatalon ka sa New Year. Okay, next. Ectomorphs, mesomorphs, endomorphs don't have to train and eat differently. So marami tayong mababasa nito sa internet, sa social media, sa mga fitness groups. Coach endomorph ako, ano gagawin ko? Coach ectomorph ako, ano yung workout na tama sa akin? Meron ba? Meron ba naka-experience nun? So, ang tawag doon sa three body types na yon, yung binabanggit na yon, is yung somatotypes. Ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. So, ectomorph, sila yung mga payat, mahaba. Samples ito, NBA players, PBA players, yung mga matatangkad, tas maninipis. Endomorph naman, ito yung nasa soft side. Yung bata pa lang sila, cute-cute na sila, bilugan sila. So, yun yung endomorphs. Mesomorph, ito yung mga pinagpala. Ito yung wala naman silang ginagawa, di naman sila nagbubuhat, pero maganda katawan nila. Macho sila. Broad shoulders, small waist. So, ito yung siguro nung bata pa lang sila, inuutusan na sila lagi magbuhat na kung ano-ano. Kaya paglaki nila, di ba, macho sila. So, kaya hindi totoo na dapat iba-iba yung training natin, diet natin. Kasi una, lahat tayo, combination tayo ng tatlong yan. Wala sa atin yung pure ectomorph lang, pure endomorph lang. But we're all combinations of the three. Example, bouncers. Combination sila nitong dalawa. So kung combinations tayo ng tatlo na yan, therefore, hindi na natin kailangan ng specific training at diet for each to get results. Kasi what makes his muscles grow will make mine grow as well. So that's the first point. Kasi lahat naman tayo, combination yan. So kung ano yung nag-work dyan, pare-pares lang yan. So yun yung first point. Ang second point, workout and diet principles are universal. Meaning, applicable sa lahat. Walang exception. As a workout, for example, to have bigger muscles, to have an amazing transformation, ano ba kailangan? Proper form, progressive overload. Right? And your muscles will grow. Para sa lahat yun, di ba? Wala tayong mahanap na tao na hindi nag-a-apply sa kanya yung progressive overload. Because that concept is universal. Di ba? Walang tao dito yung yung nagbubuhat siya ng bench press, for example, or squat. Sabi niya, lumalaki lang yung yung legs ko, tsaka yung chest ko nung binabawasan ko yung nung binabawasan ko yung timbang. Di ba? Walang ganun. Lahat tayo, maglalaki lang yung muscles natin pag pataas yung dagdag natin. Hindi pa bawas. Likewise, sa diet naman, ano ba yung mga concepts yan na universal? Calorie surplus, pag gusto natin mag-gain ng weight. Pag gusto natin pumayat, calorie deficit. Pag gusto natin mag-maintain, kain tayo sa maintenance. So yung concept na yun, universal yun. Walang tao yung exempted doon sa mga principles na yun. So bottom line, since the workout and diet principles are universal and we're all combinations of the three somatotypes, therefore, we don't need to train and eat differently. Okay ba yun? Clear ba yun? So ito si Dr. Mike, yung post niya, one of the people we look up to at isa sa sobrang credible source sa fitness knowledge. Sabi niya, how to lose weight according to body type. Ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. Same lang lahat. Calorie deficit. This is why Kaizen works for everyone. Obese, payat, skinny fat, women, etc. Kaya pag nakakita tayo ng ads sa social media, sa fitness, nakalagay doon, diet or training for specific body type, pwede nyo nang iwasan yun. Pwede nyo nang i-hide yun. Pwede na kayong hindi masilaw sa shiny object na yun. Ang mga keywords noon, body type training, body type diet, so walang ganun. Okay? Ayan, so we're done with the first 21. Water break muna tayo. We will pause the video, then resume after 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, the second half will have many teaching points like clean bulking, celebrity workouts, strength and muscle loss. So mas meaty yung second half. So let's pause the video and go back here after 5 minutes.
Ayan guys, break muna tayo. Balik tayo around 12:10.
Break daw muna tayo, sabi ni Ray. Kahit hindi pa tayo, break muna tayo.
May nasama si Sir Timo lang yung ipon Sir.
Ayaw pa
Yung
na.
aking nakaraan. Wala. Yung Sabado. Yung pinag-utim ako Sir. Wow.
Ano daw?
We are so. Nano ko na ito.
Kumusta yung mga team puyat dyan? Past 5 a.m. Nakauwi. Grabe kayo, guys.
Guys, after lesson pala, may announcement daw yung cheer team. So, stay lang tayo hanggang matapos yung lesson. Hintayin natin kung may raffle. I-announce later. Ayun guys, 12:10 na. Ready na ba? Start ko na yun. Wait. Game?
Game na, okay?
Okay.
Okay, resume tayo. Dito na ba lahat? Resume tayo, part 2. Okay, ready guys? 22, fasted cardio is not superior to fed cardio. So ito, meron pa bang nagka-fasted cardio dito thinking na it's going to produce more weight loss, more results? So ang claim dito, pag wala tayong food sa umaga, for example, yung glycogen natin, blood sugar, at saka yung, yun, wala tayong carb stores. Ang mangyayari daw, the body will use fat as energy to fuel the cardio sessions. So as a result, since fat ang gagamitin natin for energy, mas mabilis tayo mag-reduce ng fat. So yun yung claim. Pero ito, yung study, kinumpare ang fed cardio versus fasted cardio. 20 young women, pareho silang naka 500 calorie deficit. Pares yung exercise nila, yung cardio session sila. Yung isa fasted, yung isa hindi. So ang result, no difference in fat loss between the groups. So parehas silang effective. Walang lamang. So clear natin yung misconception dito. So our body always strives for homeostasis. Yun yung balance na tinatawag. So if you do fasted cardio, yes, we will use more fat for energy for that period. Dun sa umaga na yun. But later in the day, our body will limit fat usage and will use other macro like carb or protein to balance the overall calorie expenditure. So ganyan yung nangyayari sa katawan natin. So tama naman eh. Gagamitin ni katawan more fat sa fasted cardio. Pero later on, titipirin niya yun. Now again, si Layne Norton, fasted cardio increases fat burning during exercise. But this is compensated for by reduced fat burning during the rest of the day. Contrarily, fed cardio burns less fat during exercise, but this is compensated by increased fat burning the rest of the day. So the net difference is 0. Bottom line, when it comes to fat loss, fasted cardio is not superior to fed cardio. They burn the same amount of calories over a period of time. So choose the one you enjoy, and that will make you consistent. Okay, next. HIIT doesn't burn more calories than a regular cardio. So ano ba yung HIIT or HIIT na yan? So example niyan, 20 seconds na sprint, tapos 40 seconds na slow pace. Tapos ulit-ulit lang, alternate lang, repeating that for a total of 20 minutes, for example. So yan yung example ng HIIT workout. So kaya siya ganyan kasi ang ibig sabihin ng HIIT is high intensity interval training. So kaya interval ang tawag kasi cycle between high intensity and then low intensity. So makikita natin dito, medyo mako-confuse tayo kasi medyo misleading. So makikita natin sa mga posts na ganito na ang sinasabi, superior daw si high intensity interval training kaysa sa regular cardio. So, move tayo. Pakita natin bakit hindi ito totoo. So, yung kabilang side naman ito ng cardio is yung tinatawag na low intensity steady state or LISS. Ito yung takbong normal lang, takbong chicks lang, jogging lang, dire-diretso lang. Steps, mga ganun. So, kaya kini-claim ng madami that HIIT burns more calories is because of something called excess post-exercise oxygen consumption or yung EPOC or yung tinatawag nilang exercise afterburn. Ibig sabihin nito, following strenuous activity like yung HIIT nga, our body's metabolism can continue to burn the normal even while at rest up to 24 hours. So kaya lang, based sa isang study, sabi doon na ang afterburn effect for the 80 minutes intense exercise, ang binaburn niya na extra is 80 calories lang. So, ito yung paper. So, yan, di nyo na kailangan basahin. Basta sabi lang dyan, 80 calories lang. At itong 80-minute intense exercise, di naman yan yung usual na ginagawa natin eh. Di naman tayo pwede mag-cardio. Diba? Sobrang tagal yan. Usually half lang eh. So, 40 extra calories. Hindi usapang steps to ah. Ito yung intense na cardio talaga. Let's say, hatiin natin, 40 calories lang. Diba? Sobrang liit ng 40 calories. Ilang, lang yan, ilang kembot lang yan, ilang TikTok lang yan. At itong 80 calories na to, arguable pa nga yan kasi may ibang studies naman, walang difference yung HIIT tsaka low intensity cardio. Na nakalagay dito, overall, it appears that EPOC is unlikely to account for any apparent greater fat loss potential with HIIT SIT. So kaya nilagay natin na hindi totoong nagbe-burn si HIIT ng more calories at mas effective siya than LISS cardio, LISS Kasi partly true lang naman siya. Kung ang gagawin lang nating basis sa pagsukat, kung ano mas effective, is yung time, like kunwari 20 minutes lang tayo nag-cardio, then yes, lamang si HIIT sa calories burn. But if you have an extra time to do 50 to 60 minutes of LISS cardio, for example, then less can burn the same or even more. So, ang advantage lang talaga ni HIIT ay pagiging time efficient niya. However, kapalit niyan yung matinding stress at fatigue sa katawan natin. Since it's really intense. So, makaka-add siya sa overall fatigue and it can affect yung weight training natin. So, yung motivation to continue sa next few days, which is super duper important sa pagiging consistent sa pagkuha ng transformation at sa results ng ilang months. Ba, hindi naman natin pinag-uusapan dito, per day lang. So bottom line, gawin mo yung cardio na enjoy mo so you can be consistent. At huwag mo gawing factor kung ano yung mas nakaka-burn sa kanilang dalawa kasi wala namang silang difference or sobrang liit lang. So ako, stick ako sa walking. Yun talaga. Next tayo, diet sodas are completely safe. They don't spike insulin and are not cancerous. Ito, marami pa rin nagtatanong dito, safe ba yung Coke Zero, Pepsi Max, Right and Light? Safe ba sila araw-araw? Ito yung mga makikita nating thumbnail sa YouTube. Nakakatakot naman talaga. Pag tinignan mo to, ayaw mo nang uminom ng Coke Zero. Are they really bad?
Pero ano? Ano siya? Chicken
Yung
breast.
four popular Diet Coke beliefs that are actually BS. So summary lang nito, balik na rin lang natin yung mga nakasulat sa headline. So Diet Coke, it doesn't cause cancer. Diet Coke doesn't cause weight gain. Kasi nga, 0 calories yan. It's not toxic. Kasi sabi dito, pwede daw, di ba, ipanglinis yung ng toilet bowl, yung Coke. And number 4, ano nga to? It's not, nasaan ba ako? Ito pala yun. It's not toxic. So it doesn't trick your brain to eat more sugar. Tapos ito, nakalagay dito, carbonic acid. Ito daw yung stain remover. Ito nga daw yung panlinis. So itong carbonic acid na to, ito lang naman yung same lang naman ito dun sa yung nakalagay sa sparkling water. So pag ininom natin yan, hindi naman automatic mabubulok agad yung lamang loob natin. Next, ito yung claim. Low-calorie sweeteners cause cancer because they turn to formaldehyde in the body. So here's why we don't have to worry. So aspartame yields a very small amount of methanol which converts to formaldehyde in the body. So the amount of methanol is way less than fruits and vegetables. The amount of methanol is thousands of times lower than our bodies normally produce. So conclusion, if low-calorie sweeteners cause cancer because of methanol, then eating fruits and vegetables should cause cancer too. Kasi mas mataas pa yung napoproduce nila. So another from Doc Spencer. So sabi niya, may post siya na, ewan ko nung year to. Artificial sweeteners trick your metabolism and cause fat gain. Physician who somehow has a medical license. So funny yung mga ganitong post for me. Kina-call out kasi talaga nila yung mga wrong information. Sabi niya dito, anyway, a well-known physician made this post like a year ago and just reposted it. So of course I got tagged throughout the day asking my thoughts. The gist was that he claimed artificial sweeteners track your metabolism and also increase insulin, which increases fat gain. This is just straight up lying. So ito pa isa, yung video ni Stephanie, forgot her surname, siya yung girlfriend ni Jeff Nippard, yung science guy. So she made a video breaking down yung different kinds ng artificial sweeteners. Stevia, aspartame, sucralose. So nireveal niya dito pinakita niya dito yung acceptable daily intake, o tinatawag na ADI. Dinetermine niya dito yan sa video na yun. Ibig sabihin, kahit araw-arawin natin to for the rest of our lives, safe pa rin sila. So example yan, 40 packets of stevia per day. Okay lang yan. 21 cans of diet soda per day. Safe pa rin yan. 31 packets of Splenda. So walang problem yan. Kahit lumaklak pa tayo ng ganyan araw-araw, safe sila. And again, from Dr. Mike, yung binanggit ko kanina, one of the most credible sources sa fitness. And the claim diet soda causes obesity, cancer, allergies, diabetes, sugar crashes, you name it. Reasons it's wrong in hundreds of studies. Ayan. So basically, yun lang naman sinasabi niya. Safe. Hindi totoo lahat ng kahit ano against diet sodas. Bottom line, water is still the best, but just enjoy your diet sodas. Splendor equals sa coffee mo as much as you can, as they're really safe. The ADI is very high. Acceptable daily intake. Ako nga, pag nagmi-milk tea ako sa Gongcha lang pwede gawin yun eh. Ewan ko ano, saan pang ibang milk tea store. Ayun, nagagawin ko lang, zero sugar, sabihin ko, palitan ng Splenda. Okay guys, okay tayo dito. Na-relieve ba kayo? Basta when in doubt, pwede nyo kaming i-message. Si Coach Carlo. We can give you a lot of resources. Okay, next. Ito maganda to. There are no mass building, muscle toning, shaping exercises. So, maririnig nyo to sa gym. Squat for mass, leg extension for cuts, bench press for mass, cable crossover for chest definition, barbell curl for mass, cable curl for definition. May naka-encounter na ba nito? Meron ba? Can type in the chat. So ako dati, lagi sinasabi sa akin, yung bench press, para lang pag gusto mo lumaki yung chest mo, yan gawin mo. Pag gusto mo yung lumabas yung guhit-guhit sa body parts mo, ito yung gawin mo. So, it's not true. You can do all of this, you can do any of this to gain mass or gain muscle definition. Pwede silang lahat. Ito explain natin. For our muscles to grow, ang una natin kailangan gawin ay i-contract. In other words, i-flex yung muscle. So example, ito, biceps. Kailangan natin, so yun yung pala yung una. Para malaman natin paano palakin yung muscle, kailangan muna natin matutunan ano ba yung function niya. So for example, ito si biceps. Ano ba function ng biceps? Ito yun. To bring the forearm, itong lower arm, near the shoulders. Yan yung tinatawag na flexion. O yung flex. Since we already know the function of the biceps, para mapalaki natin siya, anong gagawin natin? Ang kailangan lang natin gawin is lagyan ng load doon sa flexion na movement. Yan yun. By holding a dumbbell. Gets yan? So, ang function ni biceps, dalhin tong lower arm dito. So, para lumaki si biceps, lagyan lang natin ng load. Kuhin, guys? So, kaya ako pinapakita sa inyo to para to clearly show you na walang muscle shaping, muscle toning exercises o muscle gaining exercises. Kasi lahat ng muscles natin, they contract or shorten only in one way. So up and down lang siya. Ito yung extension, ito yung flexion. Gets yan? So if you want to stimulate the bicep muscles, gawin lang natin yung flexion ng may resistance. Apply natin si progressive overload. Ayan, marami ka rin makikita nito sa YouTube. Nagde-debate sila. Ano bang mas maganda? Sa gym even. Ano bang mas effective? Barbell curl o bicep curl? O cable curl? Or whatever curl? Pero lahat ng yan, iisa lang naman ang purpose yan. To bring the lower arm, the forearm, pataas, near the shoulder. To have the elbow flexion or to flex the biceps. Yan, so lahat ng bicep exercises na nakikita natin dito sa screen, same lang ang ginagawa nila. Isang way lang nila kinokontract si biceps. So whether you do it here, 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 same lang ang ginagawa nila. Right? Kita nyo yan? So lahat yan, iisa lang ang goal, to stimulate the biceps for muscle growth. So kahit ano pang gawin nila dyan, same lang yan. So kaya walang muscle building, muscle shaping, exercises like bench press or dumbbell flies. Kasi nga, iisa lang naman yung way ng pag-contract ng muscles natin. They're either contracted or not contracted. Flex or unflexed. For example, ito. Yung chest press. Ano bang silbi ni chest muscle? Ang silbi ni chest muscle is to bring this, yung upper arm, dito, sa gitna ng katawan. Imagine niyo nagbe-bench siya. So, si upper arm, pag press niya to, mapupunta siya dito. Gets? Gets yun? Itong upper arm, didikit siya dito. So, parang iniipit niya yung chest muscles. So, yun yung sa chest press. Dito sa dumbbell fly, ano ba ginagawa? Dadalhin din dun. Same lang, di ba? Pag dinala niyo yung dumbbells dito, mapupunta yung upper arm dito. So, parehas lang, di ba? Kuha niyo yan. So, whether we do chest press, bench press, dumbbell flies, iisa lang yung nangyayari sa chest muscles natin. Nagko-contract sila. So, pwedeng itong dalawa, parehas yang mass building exercise. Pwede rin parehas silang exercise na nagkakos ng muscle definition. So, ganun lang siya. Yung shape ng muscle, hindi yan nakadepende kung anong exercise ang ginagawa natin. Nakadepende yan sa genetics, saka sa body fat natin. Okay, ito example, tingnan yung chest ko. Okay, mataas body fat ko, ganyan yung shape niya. Tapos yung nawala yung body fat ko, bumaba, ganyan yung shape niya, nag-iba. Nag-iba yung shape ng chest ko dahil nabawasan yung body fat ko. Not because I did cable crossovers or dumbbell flies or special exercises. Kasi ang ginagawa ko lang dito bench press. Saka push-up ata. Gets yun? So yung chest ko, yung abs ko, yung shape nila, ang magde-determine dyan is yung genetics ko. At kung gaano kadami yung muscle mass at body fat ko. Okay yun guys? Nagets yun? Clear ba yun? So kaya ang sinabing bench press is, chest press is for mass, dahil si chest press o si bench press, compound movement sila. O compound movement siya. Ibig sabihin, maraming tinatamaan ng muscle versus sa dumbbell flies lang. Ito kasing dumbbell flies, ano lang siya, isolation exercise yung tawag dyan. Isang muscle lang yung natatarget niya. Chest lang. Versus here, nagagamit dito yung shoulders, yung triceps. Yun. Kaya siya naging mass building exercise. So, I know mahaba tong part na to. Ito explanation dito. Pero in practical application, ganito lang naman yun. So, yung mga tanong na ganito. Coach, ano best gawin? Barbell curl? Dumbbell curl? Nakatayo po ba? Nakaupo? Coach, ano best gawin? Barbell bench press or dumbbell bench press? So, the answer is, kahit ano dyan. Ang best gawin is yung exercise na pinaka nagagawa mo ng tama, pinaka nararamdaman mo dun sa body part mo, at saka yung pinaka na-enjoy mo. So, you can be consistent. At para nag-enjoy ka, di ba? Pag nag-enjoy ka, maging consistent ka. Pag consistent ka, gagawin mo siya ng mas matagal. Kasi knowing that the muscle contracts in a single way only, parehas lang lahat yan. It won't matter kung barbell, dumbbell, nakatayo, nakaupo, kasi isa lang naman yung way to contract the muscle. Okay? Clear yun? So lahat yung magkaka-cuts ka, lahat yung magkaka-mass ka. So pag may nagsabi sa'yo na, mas maganda barbell gamitin mo bro, mas effective. So alam niya yung sasagot. Sabi mo, pares lang sila bro. Mas maganda to for me, itong dumbbell. Kasi mas nag-enjoy ako dito. Tsaka mas nararamdaman ko talaga siya sa chest. At saka mas nagagawa ko siya ng tama. Okay, gets yun. So yun lang. I hope this clears kung ano yung gagawin mo. Nakatayo ba? Nakaupo? Ano yung mas effective? So lahat yan, same lang. Okay, so natagalan tayo. Sana na-explain ko yun ng malinaw. Ayan, another example. Itong dalawa. A lot would think na iba yung ginagawa nilang exercises or routine. Kaya yung isa ganito katawan, yung isa ganito. Pero hindi. Both of them use the same exercises. The only difference is the amount of muscle mass they have. So walang muscle building, walang mass gaining exercises, muscle shaping. Kasi lahat yan, iisa lang ang goal. Palakihin yung muscles natin. So bottom line, there are no mass building, muscle shaping exercises. All our muscles contract in one way. And this one way of contraction only serves one purpose, to stimulate muscle growth in the targeted body part. As for our muscle shapes, they mostly depend on our genetics and body fat percentage. Okay, next. Workout routines contribute only a little to our overall results. workout principles are much more important. So connected dun sa na-discuss natin na point kanina, barbell bench press, if barbell bench press has the same effect as flat dumbbell bench press, if pareho naman nagagawa ng ayos, then it's safe to conclude na small picture lang ang workout routine sa pagbibigay sa atin ng results overall. So, ang mali na nakikita ko sa madaming tao, including ako, nung nag-start ako, is yung pagbigay ko ng too much importance sa mga workout routines. For example, nag-search tayo sa internet. Anong workout routine ni ganitong artista? Anong workout routine ni bodybuilder name? Sino gumawa nun? Anong workout kaya ni Thor, Captain America? Gayahin ko nga. Sino ganun? Ako, ganun ako. So, yan. Ganito yung mga makikita natin ba? Ay, ganito yung ginawa niya sa movie. Ganito ang gagawin ko para maging magkamukha yung katawan namin. So, yan. Ganito yung mga makikita natin. Random 12 weeks na workout routine. At kung bago tayo at uninformed, like yung mga pinagdaanan natin before, o kung lagpas na kayo dyan, ako pinagdaanan ko before, iisipin lang natin na ito yung exact reason for those body transformations. While this is a good start para magkaroon tayo ng structure sa fitness natin, it's not enough. Routine lang siya eh. But without the principles, hindi siya gagana. For example, mga kilala kong, mga alam kong mga nagko-coach, online coaches, o even personal trainers. Ang gagawin lang nila, bibigay nila sa yung routine. Ayan, lalatagan ka nila. Sabi niya, gawin mo ng 3 months. Binayaran mo siya. Then ikaw, sobrang seryoso mo, gagawin mo talaga siya in 3 months. Strictly, to a T. Including reps, sets, exercise selection, lahat. Itong mismo nakasulat. Gagawin mo ng 12 weeks, then i-check mo sa sarili mo, i-check mo yung sarili mo sa salamin after 12 weeks. Then makikita mo, bakit ganun? Bakit wala nangyari? So bakit wala nangyari? Kasi yun nga, uninformed tayo. Akala natin, ito yung magta-transform sa atin. Binibigyan natin ng too much emphasis. Itong less important stuff na to, like techniques, exercise, rep sets, and not on the more important stuff, like yung principles ng progressive overload, proper form, calories, proper protein intake. So kung wala ng principles, hindi talaga ito gagana. Kahit pa, example, kahit pa ito yung pinaka-perfect na workout routine sa buong mundo, at kahit na strictly pa natin ginagawa tong routine na to na walang mintis, kung di naman natin alam yung principles, bali wala rin. Agree kayo? For example, ginaya mo tong routine na to, pero hindi mo alam yung progressive overload. So after 12 weeks, ginagawa mo nga to, pero yung buhat mo, same weight at reps lang din. Minsan, binabawasan mo pa yung reps saka yung weight kasi depende sa mood mo. Parang mahina ko ngayon, bawasan ko. So nagagawa mo nga si routine, pero yung principle hindi mo na-apply. Kaya hindi siya mag-work. Gets? But the routine will never be as important as the workout principles. So another example, boys and girls, ginawa mo itong, binigyan ni coach, binigyan sa itong workout routine ito. Ang goal mo is to look sweet. Yung talagang gusto mong mangyari. So maging lean, gusto mo mabawasan ng 20 pounds. The problem is, hindi mo alam yung calorie deficit. Binigyan ka lang niya ng workout routine. So mangyari sa mga uninformed, sisisihin nila yung workout routine. Gagawin nila for 12 weeks, sabihin nila, hindi naman ako nabawasan ng weight. Tapos sabihin nila, hindi naman effective yung program. Kasi sinunod ko naman strictly yung 12 weeks na workout program, pero wala nangyari sa akin. And that's because the calorie deficit principle, which is the more important one, yun yung wala. So in this case, the lack of result is caused not by the program, but by the lack of the principle. Sa MF group, sa kabilang group, example yan, bibili sila ng program, yung book na MF, sabi nila, coach, ginawa ko naman yung phase 1, phase 2. Mabot nga ako phase 3. Pero di naman ako pumayat. Hindi naman effective. Kasi ang ginawa nila, tumalon agad sila dun sa workout routine. Kasi they think na yung routine yung magbibigay sa kanila ng results. So it's not the routine, it's the principle. Pwede mo nga wag gawin yung workout and still lose weight, di ba? So this is why I prefer teaching complete programs that are heavy on principles rather than just selling a workout routine or a diet plan. Kasi pag ito lang provide ko, wala, hit or miss yan. Depende yan sa execution ng clients, sa knowledge nila when it comes to principles, pero kung ayan lang, hindi siya mag-work. Kaya ako, pag nagturo ako, kompleto. Kaizen, MF, basic bulk, basic cut. Heavy on principles sila. Bottom line, workout principles are more important than workout routines. You can have the best workout routine in the world, But without the proper principles, useless yung routine. Okay, so next. Creatine doesn't cause hair loss. So maraming tatanong dito sa fitness groups. Nakita ko rin sa MF. Wala ko extra slides dito pero it doesn't cause hair loss. Ayun lang. Next one. Eating after 6 p.m. doesn't cause weight gain. So ayan, may naririnig pa ba kayong ganito? Ay, sinasabi nila, di na ako kumakain sa gabi, nakakataba. Meron ba? Meron pa ba? Ako meron pa. Family members, relatives. So, ganito yun. Di ba? Huwag ka daw kumain ng carbs ng kahit ano after 6 p.m. So, 5:59 p.m., 432 calories. So, pagdating ng 6:01, lumagpas ng 6 p.m., ganun pa rin man. 432 calories pa rin yung meal mo. So, hindi siya ganito. 5:59 p.m., yung rice mo, 250 calories lang. Pagdating ng 6:01 p.m., 1 million calories. So, hindi siya totoo. I'm sure, alam niyo na ito by now. And kahit adjust natin 6 p.m., let's say kumain ka ng 10 p.m. before ka matulog, tapos, yun, nag-worry ka na, shit, baka tumaba ako kasi kumain ako bago matulog. So, same pa rin naman. Hindi ka pa rin tataba as long as hindi ka naka-calorie surplus. Kasi ang mangyayari, kahit matulog ka, i-digest pa rin naman ng katawan mo yung food na yun. At even while at rest, your body is still going to expend energy digesting that food. O kahit na wala kang dinidigest, nag-expend pa rin ng energy yung katawan natin. Yun yung tinatawag na resting metabolic rate. And tomorrow, pag gising, yung kinain mo kagabi, mabuburn pa rin siya as part of your daily expenditure. So hindi, walang bearing yun. Kung natulog ka kumain ka bago ka natulog, ang magsasabi pa rin, ang magkakos pa rin ng weight gain natin is yung calorie surplus natin for the whole week. Okay? So next tayo. Hindi nakakalaki ng tiyan pag busog tapos umupo. So ito, naririnig niyo pa ba ito? Di ba meron nagsasabi, pag kumain ka, huwag ka umupo, maglakad-lakad ka kasi may ipon yung pagkain dyan sa stomach mo. Meron pa ba? So hindi siya totoo. Kasi kung totoo yan, edi sana hindi na pinagbawal na yung mga dining tables. Pinagbawal na yung mga upuan sa mga restaurants. Lahat sana tayo kumakain at nakatayo na habang kumakain. Come to think of it, ang prescribe sa atin ng mga doctors is mag-exercise tayo, kumain tayo ng tama, hindi yung wag umupo habang kumakain. Okay? So hindi calorie surplus ang nakakataba, hindi yung pag-upo during a meal. Next one, there's no such thing as clean bulking or bulking that causes zero fat gain. Sa mga bulking dito, may naririnig pa kayong ganito. Ako dumaan ako dito kasi nakailang bulking cycles na ako. So makikita mo ito sa internet. Makikita mo na meron doon mga posts, mga articles, or whatever. Pag clean lang daw ang kinain mo, kahit marami, hindi ka raw tataba. Hindi ka raw magkakaroon ng fat accumulation. So this is different. This is not to be confused with lean bulking. So different yung clean bulking. Ang claim ng clean bulking, as long as you consume your calories from clean sources rather than junk foods, hindi ka raw magkakaroon ng fat gain. So this is simply not true. Clean or dirty, a calorie is a calorie. Consume more food than your body requires, mag-add talaga tayo ng fat. Mag-accumulate talaga tayo ng fat. Kahit puro gulay pa yan. Discuss natin ito sa week number 2. The quality of food does not dictate weight changes, but yung quantity lang. So bottom line, lahat ng bulking, regardless if it's the slowest or the cleanest diet, is still going to cause fat gain. That's just the nature of calorie surplus. Okay, goods. Additional info. Hey coach, paano mo i-explain yung mga nagbo-bulking tapos may abs pa rin? So here it is. The reason why some people still maintain their abs during bulking is not because of how clean their diets are, but because they started bulking at a really low body fat percentage. So sumagad sila sa cut nila. Kaya marami silang leeway sa mga extra fat na makukuha nila pag nag-bulk na sila. Karamihan kasi, nag-start ng bulk, hindi pa ganun kalin. So kaya nawawala agad yung abs nila. And next one, kaya na-maintain nila yung abs nila, bukod sa sumagad sila sa cut nila, they're also maintaining a very small calorie surplus. So super duper lean bulking sila. Ano yung small calorie surplus? 50 to 100. Ganun. Clear yun? So hindi dahil malinis yung diet nila. Ito yun. Kaya natin ito ma-achieve kahit kumakain ng ice cream, kahit kumakain ng kung ano-ano. Okay? So next one, you don't need celebrity trainers or chefs to get results. They don't possess superpowers. So ako, before, pag nakakita ko ng trailers ng movies, kasi mga actors na kilala ko na nakita ko nagkaroon ng matinding fitness transformations, sobrang na-excite ako para panoorin. Ganyan di ba yun? Or ako lang yun. So ito, napanood ko yung X-Men. So ano ba? Spider-Man? Ito, naalala ko yung X-Men. Yung matapos kong panoorin to, pag uwi ko gusto mag-gym agad. Gabi-gabi na yun. Try do yung mga scenes sila, Thor, nila Captain America, after the movie, excited tayo mag-gym, tapos search pa natin ano yung workout sila. Example, na Zac Efron workout routine. Si Amir Khan, yung actor sa Three Idiots. So, favorite Bollywood actor ko to. Isa pa na super inspiring sa akin that time, si Ryan Reynolds, yung katawan niya sa Bleed. And of course, sa babae, si Adele. So whether we are aware or not, dati, yung di ba tayo marunong sa fitness, or probably up until now, meron tayong invisible, limiting belief na irrational, na kaya itong mga celebrities na to, kaya nagkakaroon sila ng magandang transformations, it's because meron silang celebrity chef at trainers na may magic na pinapagawa sa kanila, kaya sobrang mahal ng bayad nun. Meron di ba kayo nun? Meron kayong belief na gano'n? Iniisip natin, kung meron lang akong celebrity trainer sa chef, kung mayaman lang ako, madali lang sana sa akin magpaganda ng katawan. And of course, as you probably know by now, hindi yan totoo, di ba? Kasi fitness principles, universal yan. Calorie deficit, calorie surplus, high protein, progressive overload. Yan lang talaga sila. Bottom line, celebrity chefs, trainers don't have some secret to building muscle, losing fat, super duper fast. They're normal people too. Therefore, you don't need them to get fast results. Lahat ng kailangan nyo sa pagpapapayat, pagpapasexy, pagpapaganda ng katawan, natutunan nyo na yan dito sa Kaizen. Kapag nag-hire ka ng celebrity trainers, ito rin may tuturo nila. Kung marunong sila. Okay, next. Lifting weights doesn't cause women to become bulky. Kahit pag gusto ng babae na maging bulky, maging macho, they won't be able to do so that easy kasi nga they have 10 times less testosterone than men, which is yun yung responsible for muscle growth. Ayan, expectation, reality. So when women lifts, kala natin maging macho agad tayo, pero hindi. Magiging sexy lang tayo. So girls, huwag tayong matakot o buhat. Ayan yung kakasexy natin. Next one, resting for 30 seconds to 1 minute only between sets is often counterproductive for muscle growth. May mga Kaizen students before na, I'm sure, meron pa rin until now, na ang sinasabi ni coach sa kanila, na dapat daw maiksi lang yung rest between sets. 30 seconds lang daw, 1 minute lang daw. Kasi pag mahaba, sayang daw yung set. Meron ba kayo experience na gano'n? Ito question. Ano nga ulit yung pinaka-importanting workout principle with regards to stimulating muscle growth? Can you type in the chat? Answer is, progressive overload. Yun yung pinaka-importante. So gamitin natin itong example ng bench press. So let's say, you're lifting 100 pounds for 10 reps at ang rest period mo between sets is 2 to 3 minutes. Kung i-compute natin yung total workout volume mo, it would be 3,000 pounds. Kaya it will be 3,000 pounds. So paano ko nakuha yung 3,000 pounds? Tinimes ko lang sila lang. Tinimes, pinag-add up ko lang sila. So that's 3,000. So ano mangyayari kung yung 2 to 3 minutes na rest mo between sets, ginawa mong 30 seconds? So this is what will happen. Set 1 mo, naka 10 reps ka, 100 pounds. Set 2 mo, nag-rest ka ng 30 seconds, 100 pounds pero 5 reps na lang. And yung set number 3 mo, pinawasan mo yung weight kasi hindi mo mabuti yung 100, tapos 5 reps na lang. Bumaba sila kasi sobrang bilis ng pahinga mo. So ano mangyayari sa workout volume? Bababa siya, magiging 1,850 pounds. So pag ang total workout volume ang usapan, from 3,000 to 1,850 pounds, progressive overload pa rin ba yung tawag dito? Hindi na. Right? Not anymore. Kasi bumaba yung total numbers natin. So nag-progress nga tayo via rest period, pero yung pinaka-importanting workout principle nag-suffer. So para mas maintindihan natin yung importance ng progressive overload, explain ko to sa inyo. Yung 3 mechanisms of muscle growth. Ano yung tatlo yan? Mechanical tension, metabolic stress, saka muscle damage. So yung tatlo ang causes ng muscle growth natin. So sa mga babae, if hindi nyo gusto yung term na muscle growth, pwede nyo palitan ng toning or kaya transformation, getting results. So same lang naman sila. Alam ko marami lang mailap na babae sa muscle growth kasi nga natatakot magpalaki ng muscle. Pero yeah, that's basically the same. If you want to use stone, use stone. Okay? Pero same lang yun. Lalaki babae, it's getting results. Dito tayo sa una, mechanical tension. It is the main driver of muscle growth. It pertains to the resistance or load that is heavy enough to stimulate muscle growth plus yung application ng progressive overload. So yung load, yung heavy enough na resistance sa exercise natin at yung progressive overload, yan yung pinaka-importante na driver na magsisignal sa muscles natin na lumaki ka. Mag-produce ka pa. Padamihin mo pa yung muscle cells, muscle tissue. Okay? So, mechanical tension yun. So, next one, metabolic stress. Yan naman yung muscle pump or muscle burn. Ito yung makukuha natin sa pag-rest ng 30 seconds lang or by doing high reps. Ayan yung metabolic stress. To say that a muscle pump has no value or walang silbi is false. Pero alam ko, sinabi ko to sa MF book. It appeared that way. But yes, may silbi si metabolic stress or muscle pump, but it's not as important as mechanical tension. So even if we ignore metabolic stress or even if we ignore the muscle pump sa training natin, as long as we're focusing sa progressive overload, sa heavyweight, ito pa rin yung magbibigay ng optimal result sa atin. Because it is the main driver of muscle growth. So itong metabolic stress, it can help. But it's nowhere near as important as this one. Okay, so lastly, muscle damage. And you damage micro tears in the muscle as a byproduct of resistance training. So automatic makukuha yung muscle damage pag nag-gym tayo, pag ina-aim natin itong mechanical tension na to. So sa example kanina, kung sinabihan ka ni coach na 30 seconds lang daw dapat ang rest mo between sets, he's basically teaching you or the client to not get optimal results. Bakit? Kasi nagpo-focus lang siya dito. By lowering the rest period to 30 seconds, mafu-fulfill lang doon is itong metabolic stress. Yung progressive overload, mechanical tension, bababa. So hindi siya makakuha ng optimal results, yung client niya. Kasi binibigyan niya ng importance tong hindi masyadong importante over this. Okay, gets yun? So yun siya, kaya inferior yung mixing rest period over longer ones like 2 to 3 minutes. Kasi ito yung number 1, main driver. So with this knowledge, alam mo nang ipaprioritize mo. This one over this one. Pwede na kayong umalma pag sinabi kayo ni coach na 30 seconds lang dapat ang rest mo. Sabihin mo, hindi coach, 2 to 3 minutes ang rest ko because I'm optimizing for mechanical tension. O diba? Gulat si coach nun, sabi niya, Anil, turuan mo ako. Siya na yung magpapaturo sa'yo. Okay guys, good to. Bottom line, you don't have to rest 30 seconds to 1 minute only between sets to get optimal results. On the contrary, you can achieve faster results if you ignore the muscle pump and rest more, thereby focusing on the primary driver of muscle growth, mechanical tension. Ibig sabihin, weight heavy na plus progressive overload. Okay, next tayo. Malapit na tayo matapos. Being super ripped or having freaky veins doesn't automatically mean steroids. Dati bago pa lang ako sa gym, yan lagi yung mindset ko. Very limiting mindset. Pag nakita ko ng magandang katawan, sabihin ko, steroids yan. For example, si Mark Floro. Kung kilala niyo siya, bodybuilder, Pinoy, may pride siya sa pagiging natty. Ibig sabihin, natural. Natural, ibig sabihin, walang drugs. Pero ganda ng katawan niya. Right? Di porke sobrang wasak, di porke maugat, steroids siya agad. Now, very limiting mindset yun. Kasi kung ganun ang belief mo, then you're implying na ikaw, na for you, hindi mo ma-achieve yung ganung katawan nang walang drugs. So, bakit mo pa itatry? Right? So, same nung na-discuss natin sa subconscious training. Kung meron kang belief na lahat ng ripped, shredded, maugat, ay nag-i-steroids at never ka mag-i-steroids, then subconsciously, ang sinasabi mo, why try getting that goal, getting lean, getting ripped, hindi ko naman makuha kasi hindi ka mag-i-steroids. So, bakit ko pa itatry? So, kaya siya, limiting belief, limiting mindset. So, hindi lahat ng bata, wasak, steroids na agad. Kasi when we get to shredded condition, kung meron tayong enough muscle mass, yung ugat na yan, lalabas talaga yan. With or without drugs. Another example, our very own MF member, si Kevin. Hindi naman siya nagda-drugs, yet dami niya ugat-ugat. Labas talaga yung mga veins niya. Kasi meron siyang enough muscle mass, saka very low body fat. Ako naman, hindi ako masyadong maugat sa upper body part, pero lumalabas siya lagi dito sa stomach, sa lower abs. Ayan, dati pag nakakita ko ng ganyan, yung mga shredded talaga, automatic steroids yan. Ba't na napuntahan ko? Hindi naman siya. So ako, wala akong experience sa drugs. Wala namang plano. So hindi lahat ng batak naka-steroids. Yung iba nasa kaizen lang. And really, kesyo steroids, naka-steroids o hindi, kung mababa talaga body fat mo, tapos may muscle mass ka, ganito magiging tsura mo. The bottom line, popping veins and being ripped are not always indications of steroid usage. Don't limit your mindset to that. The next one, you don't need to use a weightlifting belt to fix your form or prevent injuries, or just because your lifts are heavy. So ito, maraming ganito sa gym. Usually sa mga coaches pa nanggagaling. Pag mabigat na yung binubuhat, sasabihin nila, uy, mag-belt ka nga. It's as if, pag nagbubuhat na mabigat, automatically dapat naka-belt. Which is, hindi naman ganun. So question, ano yung una mo kailangan gawin to prevent getting injured pag nagbubuhat ka? Sige nga, ano yung unang-una mong gawin para hindi ka ma-injured? Type in the chat. So ang sagot, learn proper form. Hindi natin pwede skip tong part na to. I see many people, they skip the learning of proper form at tatapalan lang nila agad ng belt, thinking that the belt will save them from getting injured. Ang ginagawa nilang band-aid. So even yung mga coaches, yung mga nagsasuggest lagi na mag-belt ka, meron din yung mindset eh, na parang hindi ko kaya ituro yung proper form sa'yo kasi hindi ko rin alam, so mag-belt ka na lang. Ganun yung usually nangyayari. Ito, papakita sa inyo. Naka-belt sila, pero makikita nyo na hindi enough yung belt para i-prevent yung injury nila. So, ayan. Diba? Parang asong jumijebs. So, pag ganito yung form natin, guys and girls, lalong-lalo, huwag tayo magbe-belt. Bakit? Kasi even if makaligtas tayo sa ganitong sessions, yung hindi tayo nasaktan kasi naka-belt naman tayo, the worst that happens is we're teaching ourselves to continue doing the wrong form at yung improper technique at nira-rationalize natin na okay lang naman yon as long as naka-belt tayo. So pagtagal, as we do progressive overload sa bad form na yan, yung risk na injury natin, pataas ng pataas. At wala nang silbi si belt pag bumikat na yung weight. Nakita nyo naman, na-straighten ba ng belt yung likod nila? Hindi naman, di ba? Ito nga, dalawa pa yung belt na gamit eh. So parang sugat lang yan. Tinatapalan natin ng band-aid yung sugat. Pero, kinikis-kis pa rin natin ang kinikis-kis yung sugat. So hindi mapapagaling ni band-aid yung sugat pag ganun, pag todo kiskis tayo. So in the same way, hindi maayos ng weightlifting belt yung bad form natin. It will just get worse. Sabi nga natin kanina, ang mag-aayos ng form natin at magta-tighten ng core muscles natin at itong likod natin is ourselves. Pag inaralan natin yung proper form. So ditch the belt, pag di ka pa sure sa form, at aralin mo muna yung proper form. Pag naaral mo na yung proper form, gawin mo muna ng ilang months before ka mag-consider magsuot ng weightlifting belt. Kasi itong belt na yan, magko-complement lang siya dun sa maayos mo ng form. So take note complement. Hindi siya mag-aayos ng bad form. Okay? Para mas mag-gets nyo, ito yung purpose ng weightlifting belt. It is not what most people think na ayusin bad form nila. It's not. So ang purpose niya is this: to create an extra force around our midsection when we do core bracing. They're also called intra-abdominal pressure or Valsalva maneuver. Ayan, silbi ni weightlifting belt. Papakita ko sa inyo, bago kayo gumamit ng belt, bago kayo makagamit ng weightlifting belt ng maayos, ang una natin kailangan matutunan is paano huminga, how to breathe. So ayan sa pictures, in-screenshot ko to kay Alan Tral sa YouTube video niya. So ang hinga natin dapat dito, pababa, sa diaphragm natin. Kapag humihinga tayo, dapat lalaki is yung belly natin. Kasi dito natin nilalagay yung air. Hindi siya dito. Yan. So pag pinakita yung chan, ganyan siya dapat. Ito dapat yung nag-expand, si belly. Not the chest, not the shoulder. So marami sa atin, shallow breather pa, hanggang chest lang, hindi umaabot dito sa diaphragm. So ito yung proper breathing. Kung gusto nyo makita ng best example, kung may baby kayo sa bahay, panoorin nyo kung paano sila huminga. Makapansin nyo, ganito lagi. Si belly yung nag-expand sa kanila. Okay? So pag natutunan na natin huminga, pwede na natin suot yung belt. So imagine natin, nilagay na natin yung belt. Tapos ganito tayo huminga, expanding the belly. So pag nakasuot na si belt, tapos nag-expand yung belly natin, yun yung gagawa, yun yung magkikreate ng force. Diba? Nakapalupot si belt, tapos yung pag-expand ng belly natin, yun yung magkikreate ng pressure inside the belt. Parang iirin natin sila, yun yung makakreate na extra force na magpo-protect sa spine natin, na mag-i-stabilize sa core natin. Yun yung silbi ni belt. Mas magiging tight yung core natin, so pag tight si core, hindi bibilag yung likod natin sa squat, sa deadlift, and even sa lahat ng exercises. And pag tight si core, bukod sa mas safe tayo, mas malakas tayo. So that's the purpose of weightlifting belt. Hindi siya pang band-aid, pang tapal sa wrong form. Kaya an example, Jeff Nippard, naka-belt siya, gagawin niya, hihinga siya dito, magkakreate ng pressure dito sa midsection, so pressure na yun yung mag-stabilize sa core niya. So pag nag-squat siya, hindi bibilog yung likod niya kasi super tight yung core, naka-brace siya. Yun yung magpo-protect sa spine niya. Okay, gets yun? Deadlift naman, same. Gets yun? So again, hindi siya pantapal sa wrong form. Bago tayo gumamit ng belt, kailangan muna natin alamin ang proper form at proper paghinga. Okay guys? Gets nyo ba? May natutunan ba kayo sa belt? So yun muna, proper form, proper breathing, then, tsaka magsuot ng belt. So pag sinuot si belt, expand the belly against the belt at doon tayo makaka-create ng tight core. Ako ang question mo, okay coach, paano naman yung mga lower back injuries? So ang sagot dun, parehas lang. Learn proper form kasi yun ang magpo-protect sa atin for further injury. Tapos learn how to breathe, then start using a belt. Hindi siya pwedeng other way around. Hindi siya yung, may injury ako, tapalan ko lang ng belt, tapos next time ko na aralin yung form. Ang mangyari doon, ma-injure ka pa rin. O pwedeng hindi ka ma-injure, pero hindi ka makapag-add ng weight. Ang magpe-prevent sa injury natin is proper form. Okay? You don't have to use a weightlifting belt to fix your form or prevent injuries. What you must do is fix your form first, then decide if you want to use a belt, as that's entirely optional. Okay, next. There's no perfect macronutrient ratio. Na-discuss na natin ito sa week 2 training, calories king, protein queen. If you hit this, itong dalawa lang, all set na tayo. You're going to build muscle, you're going to be sexy, you're going to lose fat, you're going to build your dream body. Kasi fat and carb, magdedepend yan sa preference ng tao. And it can also change day to day. Pwedeng sumobra sa kanila, pwedeng sumobra either sa kanila, basta pasok sa calories. Example yan, let's say you're eating at 1,800 calories. So ngayon, gusto mo kumain ng pasta dahil magluluto si mommy ng spaghetti. May birthday. So today, mataas carbs mo, pero pagkakasya mo pa rin siya sa 1.8. Pero next week, birthday ni Tito. May lechon yung handa niya. So ang gagawin mo, babawasan mo yung carbs para makapapakta ng maraming lechon. Maraming taba si lechon. Mataas fats niya, pero gagawin mo, ipapasok mo pa rin sa 1.8 calories. So walang perfect macronutrient ratio. It's because as long as calories are the same weight loss lang yun. So magdedepend lang sa kung anong trip mo kainin that day. If you will limit yourself to specific macronutrient ratio like ito, like kailangan si carbs 40%, fat 25%, ang mangyayari, mababawasan yung flexibility natin. Magiging slightly rigid tayo. Now, contrast this dito sa approach na more flexible. So, yung week 2 training natin, dito iintindihin lang natin yung calories sa protein. Tapos yung fat and carb, kahit ano, basta pasok sa calories. But of course, as we learned in the limiting beliefs training natin, rigidity can be a better choice as well. Because it's going to simplify things through less variety. Ang bottom line lang nito, walang perfect macronutrient ratio. So hit lang natin calories at protein and we're all good. But if you want to be rigid, if you want to have more structure, then okay lang to. Next one, almost done. Increased insulin doesn't cause weight gain. Calorie deficit is more important. So pwede na natin ignore yung mga nababasa natin na about insulin, doing IF, eating low carb, insulin resistance, etc. etc. Pwede na natin sila ignore pag-usapang weight loss. Kasi they are of little importance pag-usapang pagpapapayat. So again, Dr. Spencer, calories are more important than insulin for weight loss. So importante lang insulin sa pag-manage ng blood sugar para dun sa mga diabetes. Pero when it comes to weight loss, ang mag-govern na rule pa rin, ang mas matimbang na rule pa rin is yung law of thermodynamics. Yun yung calorie deficit, yun yung calorie surplus. So another, from Lane Norton. Sabi niya, Tito, carbs are not fattening because of insulin. If insulin automatically caused fat gain, protein would as well. Kasi yung protein, nag-spike din yung insulin. At dito, sabi, insulin does not magically cause all things to be stored as fat. It still all comes down to energy balance, to calorie balance. If you're gaining weight, you're eating more calories than you're expending. Ang bottom line lang noon, insulin doesn't cause weight gain. Calorie